Newcastle reject a bid from Liverpool worth more than £110 million for their striker Alexander Isak. Hi, good evening. Welcome along to the Transfer Show. It's the most significant Premier League transfer story of the summer and could be the biggest Premier League transfer fee of all time. We are live to St James's Park to get the very latest on Liverpool's pursuit of Alexander Isak. We'll also be asking who Newcastle could get in to replace Isak if he goes, with Benjamin Sesko and a Premier League striker on their wish list. Is Andre Onana's future in doubt as a Champions League winning goalkeeper is on Manchester United's radar? And yet another player looks like he'll move between Tottenham and Bayern Munich. We'll tell you who. Let's start, though, with developments at Newcastle, who have turned down £110 million plus add-ons bid from Liverpool for their striker Alexander Isak. Mark McAdam, Michael Bridger here. We'll speak to them shortly. First, though, let's go live to St James's Park and we can speak to Keith Downey for more. Keith, very good evening. Right, where are we with this story?
Where are we? How long is a piece of string, Mike? Look, Liverpool have made the offer, the formal offer this morning to Newcastle United for Alexander Isak. We know that 2 weeks ago there was an informal approach. Since then, Isak refused to travel with the squad on their pre-season tour. Clearly he's been affected. His head has been turned by Liverpool's interest, so much so that he's training out on his own in the Basque region of Spain with his own team, away from the Newcastle travelling party in South Korea. And that informal approach became a formal offer this morning when, as you rightly say, Liverpool made that offer to Newcastle United of £110 million plus add-ons for Alexander Isak. It was rejected by Newcastle United for two reasons. Firstly, it doesn't meet their valuation of the player, which is £150 million. And secondly, they don't have an adequate replacement lined up. Newcastle, if they were to lose Isak, would have no strikers going into the season, having already lost Callum Wilson. So they're in a very, very delicate situation, Newcastle, as it stands. And our understanding is that Newcastle will only reluctantly sanction a sale of Isak if their valuation was met, if Isak is agitating to leave, which of course he is, and if Newcastle had a top level replacement lined up. And as we know, at this moment they don't have that. So Alexander Isak currently remains a Newcastle United player, but he's not with their travelling party out in Asia.
Keith Downey, live from St James's Park. Thank you. Right, Mark McAdam, you're right across this story. How much of a mess? I don't want to be right across it. How much of a mess is this for Newcastle?
Yeah, it's a huge problem for Newcastle. Of course, this should be one of the most exciting summers the fans have experienced. Let's be honest, they won their first major piece of silverware for 70 years. They got into the Champions League. The feel-good factor around St James's Park and that football club, off the back of what Eddie Howe has built, is unlike anything they've experienced for a number of years. And this was the summer after being shackled by PSR, where they could finally start to spend a little bit of money and start to invest in that squad as they had done in previous windows when PIF took over the football club. But it's certainly not going to plan, and it's becoming actually a real headache. And what we're in now is the transfer games. And unfortunately, we have to try and report on everything that's happening. And it's very difficult to keep up with what's going on at the moment. And when you've got that man, Alexander Isak, the star player, the man that gets the goals, the man that's worth all the money, the man that's at the centre of your strike force for a brand new season, a Champions League campaign, and hopefully a season where Newcastle can deliver more silverware, more successful nights in Europe, and really take the football club forward, you've got this unwanted noise. And I hate to say it, but this is not going to disappear anytime quickly. This is going to rumble on until September the 1st. And Newcastle fans have got to try and get their head around the fact that they may not have that man with them next season, and they may not be as strong as they think or would like to be going into a new campaign. So we've got a lot of twists and turns to go. Me and Michael and the team here at Sky Sports News will try and keep abreast of it. But this is just the start of the beginning. This is nowhere near the end.
Okay, we know you'll keep across it. Right, when we spoke to Keith, Michael, he wasn't sure about replacements. Newcastle have said, quite adamantly, Isak only goes until we've got someone in the door. That's when he can go. So who are the possible people who could come in?
Well, that to me sounds like another potential saga, doesn't it? Because the names we've been given, Benjamin Sesko, where we're told that in an ideal world he'd like to go to Manchester United, but also the other name we've been told is Ollie Watkins. I can't see Aston Villa just moving him straight to Newcastle United without a saga going on there as well. We've got Johan Wissa there pictured as well. I think that's a bit of a separate saga, wouldn't you say, Mark? Because potentially a different
saga
position.
within a saga.
Yeah, sagas and sagas, box sets, whatever you want to call it. But do you know what gets me? We're talking about the Premier League. Have we seen the new Champions League format? Last year, clubs came unstuck in the league with this new format, these 2 extra games. Now, we know Alexander Isak is a phenomenal striker. Well, the one blemish you'd say is potentially his injury record. He's a phenomenal striker. So they need to add on top of that, don't they? Not lose him and gain. That's what I find interesting here.
Yeah, they're in a situation where obviously they need to replace Callum Wilson. Hugely experienced striker. Yes, of course, he didn't play as much last season for Newcastle because of his injury record and he was just fighting his body a little bit. But no question, he still had the ability to put the ball in the back of the net. So they need to replace him and then now potentially try and replace Alexander Isak. Now, the problem for Aston Villa is, hey, like Newcastle, we don't want to sell our frontline top-class striker because we will only do that if we feel like we can replace him. And that's the problem they'll have, the same problem that Newcastle are having. And it's that domino effect of if one striker goes here and one striker goes there. But as we've seen so far in this window, there's not a long list of top-class, world-class, Champions League quality strikers out there and potentially available. And that's where Newcastle are suffering.
Why is it so difficult? Because they've won their first trophy in 70 years. They're in the Champions League. Newcastle's a fantastic place. Why can't they get people in? They've got Elanga, haven't they? And that's it.
Yeah, and Aaron Ramsdale, subject to official confirmation from the football club. Now, ultimately, only the players that they've been linked to and missed out on can answer that question. Brian Mbumo, João Pedro, Hugo Ekitike, Dean Howson. Now, these are all top players, right? And Newcastle fans will say, well, we've just missed out on getting number 1 targets. But we are trying to compete at the very highest top end of the footballing transfer pyramid. That's where we want to be. We should be targeting the best players we possibly can get. So losing out to Real Madrid, Liverpool, Chelsea, Manchester United is not the worst thing in the world. But ultimately, they've then got to try and pick up the pieces of this. I don't know, we'd say maybe geographically in the northeast, incredible city, passionate city.
Brilliant
They
place.
love their football club.
Good night out.
Good night out, Michael
Best
Bridge
night out.
exclusive. But do families and wives and girlfriends want to live there when you've got the bright lights of London and Manchester or Madrid? That may be a question only those players can answer.
I think it was hard for Newcastle fans as well. It's like sort of hit a wall out of nowhere because we've talked about Newcastle transfer shows after the last few years. Kieran Trippier sort of starting it all off, huge success. Sven Botman, yes, injuries, huge success. Bruno Guimaraes, probably the best midfielders in the league, huge success. Sandro Tonali, obviously had this betting ban, but great player, huge success. Anthony Gordon, huge success.
Yeah.
Most of their recruitment has been a huge success. Isak, took a risk on Isak. A lot of clubs looked at Isak, they took the risk. So it's a bit of a shell shock, I feel, for Newcastle fans this summer.
Yeah, Eddie Howe's been so instrumental in attracting players. You know, these players that have all wanted that Premier League opportunity, and he's convinced them to come to Newcastle because this is an exciting project. You will be a part of something special. This is a fan base unlike anything else in the world, and you will love playing for them. But that little bit of magic that you had in those conversations clearly isn't working at the moment. And that's the frustration for them, is that the players they're targeting, the top-class recruitment they've done already, like Michael says, it's been outstanding. It just seems to have not had its effect during this summer. But they are going for players that, whilst they're realistic, they're just unattainable because of the other clubs that are coming in to try and get them. And that's where I feel sorry for Eddie Howe, and that's where I feel the frustration of Newcastle fans, because not only is the conversation about losing their top player, but also trying to attract players is becoming a bit of an issue. The good thing for them, though, we've still got, 31 days or so? I dread to look at the clock.
September 1st.
There's a long way to go and there's a lot of time left, so they can get business done. They just need to find the right type of players.
I know you boys are going to talk much more about Newcastle in the 7 o'clock show, so we'll leave them here for the moment. Let's talk Manchester United. Now, we know that Manchester United are interested in Gianluigi Donnarumma. Is Donnarumma interested in Manchester United, Mark McAdam?
Yeah, full name, Mike Wedderburn. Have I done something wrong?
I thought you deserved it.
No question. Quality player, 26 years old. He's at PSG. He's just had the most phenomenal season. And there is interest from Manchester United. One of the significant things in this deal is he has 1 year left on his current PSG contract. And they're in the market to try and sign another goalkeeper, which may affect his ability to play games next season. There's been no official club-to-club contact at this stage. And of course, there is still a question mark over Andre Onana at the moment. Question mark, A, is he the Manchester United number one? B, the current injury situation, how much he'll be able to play and how available he'll be for the start of the season. And of course, we've been reporting throughout the summer that they are interested in making an addition to the goalkeeping department should finances dictate that it's possible.
But Mark, everyone's looking at this and going, is Donnarumma using Manchester United as a negotiating tactic? What do you think?
Absolutely, that's a possibility. It's not uncommon. Managers, players, they want a new contract. They want to use that little bit of speculation in the media to facilitate a move somewhere else. It could be a number of things. But what we do know is that there is genuine interest from Manchester United.
OK, Michael, we know that Manchester United want to offload the famous five. One of them's gone, Rashford. Any news on any others?
Well, you're probably out of the four remaining at Manchester United who look to don't have futures at the football club. The more likely to leave at the moment is Jadon Sancho. Our colleagues in Germany are saying Borussia Dortmund exploring a potential third time at the club for Jadon Sancho. I think an issue for Jadon Sancho is obviously a lot of the time being his wages. Of course, there's pictures of him at Chelsea. Chelsea didn't take the option to take him permanently. So we'll wait and see on that one because, of course, Jadon Sancho loves Dortmund and whether it can work out financially for Dortmund, we'll wait and see. But then you've got Anthony, who had a great loan at Real Betis, Alejandro Garnacho, still at Manchester United. He obviously had that fallout with Ruben Amorim at the end of the Europa League final. And then you've got Tierra Malacia as well, who's had a number of injury issues as well. So you talk about Ruben Amorim wanting to bring so many more players in as well. But you're talking about those players there. Big players, but more importantly, big wages.
Yeah, much more on Manchester United coming up in the 7 o'clock show as well. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk Scottish Premiership. That's back this weekend. Brendan Rodgers, though, pretty frustrated.
To really push to get the players in that we need for the gaps that we have. I'm clearly not doing that job well enough.
the transfer show. This window is bubbling along quite nicely. And there's yet another transfer between Tottenham Hotspur and Bayern Munich. Michael, who is it?
Yeah, João Palhinha, the former Fulham midfielder. This one is getting close to completion now. A medical was this afternoon. There's reports that a medical has been completed. Spurs, of course, are in South Korea at the moment, so they should be in their beds by now, but maybe there should be an announcement potentially tomorrow. His first game for Spurs could be against Bayern Munich. They've got them next week. It's always the way. But look, I'll tell you something, this is a good signing for Spurs. You know, he's a player that Spurs have lacked. Just someone who can tackle, just get in there and make a tackle. Made over 100 more tackles than anyone else in the Premier League over the last 2 seasons at Fulham, which I find quite a staggering stat. Obviously, Spurs sold Pierre-Emile Højbjerg to Marseille. While I think that was a good move at the time, Spurs have kind of missed that kind of player in midfield. So if that can be completed, I think it's a very good move for Thomas Frank.
Yeah, definitely. So he could be on his way in. Who could be on his way out?
Yeah, and completed this morning, Mikey Moore has joined Glasgow Rangers. And I know this is a move for him. He's so excited. His family were excited as well. They had plenty of options, a couple of options in Germany, number of options in the Championship. He wanted to join Rangers. He sat down with Jermaine Defoe and spoke to him about it as well. He said, if you've got an option to join Rangers, you go and join Rangers. It's not going to be an easy loan. This is going to be a tough. But he's 17, and people say about Scottish Premiership, it's going to be tough for him. But also, he's going to have European football as well. They're going through against Panathinaikos. They'll either be in the Champions League or the Europa League. Russell Martin knows what he's doing. I think this could be a very good loan for him.
And it's just a straight loan, is it?
Straight loan. He's got a future at Spurs. Yeah, there's no options or obligations. It's a straight loan.
OK. So Rangers are strengthening as they attempt to rein in Celtic. But it seems all isn't well at Celtic Park. Brendan Rodgers has expressed his frustration at Celtic's transfer business.
I have to convince the board to really push to get the players in that we need for the gaps that we have. I'm clearly not doing that job well enough. So, but I will continue to push and hopefully we can get the players in by the end of the transfer window. I said during the week that a manager's need and a coach's needs is always different to maybe what the needs are within the bigger picture.
Trouble in paradise, Michael?
I think, when Celtic appointed Brendan Rodgers for the second time, they know what they're getting. They're getting a very ambitious manager. And I'd be slightly concerned if I was a Celtic fan. They want to push on. Of course, they've won the league countless times over the last few years, but they always want to push on in Europe as well. So, yeah, it's an interesting one from Brendan Rodgers. But look, hopefully for Celtic and Brendan Rodgers, they could be announcing a signing very soon.
It could be. Just a matter of time before this one gets confirmed by the football club, probably in the next 24 hours or so. Jemai Simpson-Pusey, young 19-year-old centre-back, physically imposing, very athletic. But because he's come from Manchester City, he's a type of centre-back that's been educated to play out from the back, which is exactly what Brendan Rodgers wants. We've seen shots of him today at the training ground as well. So we know that the medical's been completed for the youngster, and you just have to look at that Manchester City under-23 setup that's produced the likes of Cole Palmer, James Trafford, Romeo Lavia, Samuel Edozie, and so on and so on and so on. It's coming from good stock. Again, this is just a straight loan as well with no option or obligation, but hugely exciting centre-back coming out of a very good academy that should be very useful to Celtic.
I'm always fascinated about the teams that come up, right, into the Premier League. Often they spend, sometimes they don't. Sunderland appear to be going for it, and they appear to be going for it again today. Tell us.
Yeah, they're really giving it a go, aren't they? They've just signed keeper Robin Roefs, the Dutch international goalkeeper, 9 million plus 2.5 million in add-ons. Can we get a graphic of Sunderland signings potentially? Because it has been relentless, hasn't it, Mark? Oh, just like that. Lovely. Look at that.
You have a lot of influence, Michael.
I know.
Don't do
really
that for me.
Thanks all. But look at all that money spent, Mark. But look, the one I really like there, Granit Xhaka, I know he's a bit older, but that, for me, gets you 10 to 12 points potentially next season. What do you reckon?
Yeah, over 200 appearances in the Premier League, knows the language, knows the country, understands what the top flight's all about. So it seems like a really sensible piece of business. Hugely impressive watching Sunderland last season, the average youngest team in the Championship, lots of pace and energy out wide, but Ipswich spent 150 million and still got relegated. So it's not just about spending huge sums of cash. I like the business they've done. That manager there, Regis, needs to gel it together, knit it together, bring it together, cultivate that culture they had last season that got them to Wembley and then promoted to the big time, and ensure they just get a little bit of luck early on in the way. They get a couple of big results early on and set the pace and the tone for this is not just going to be a relegation scrap. We got half a chance to achieve something here and survive. There could be something special. Of the 3 teams that have come up, they're the one I fancy the most.
And also you've got to say, if 1 or 2 do stay up, who are the 1 or 2 you think could drop in? Because last season you had Tottenham, West Ham and Man United. Now, you'd think that those 3 will do a lot better next season. I certainly think Spurs and Man United will do a lot better next season. So it is going to be difficult.
You've got to worry about Brentford because they've lost so many key personnel.
Yep.
You have to worry, surely.
Yep.
Yeah, you'd be concerned about them. There's other teams that have lost players and not perhaps recruited. You look at the pre-season games where teams have lost matches and you think, Bournemouth getting beat by Manchester United 4-1 doesn't look good. Everton losing to West Ham doesn't look good. However, we've got over 30 days left in the window. There's still a long way to go and we're still in pre-season and these players are still just getting fit. But ultimately in the Premier League, you need to find 3 teams that are not as good as you and hope that you're not in that bottom 3. And if you can find 3 of those sides, you're going to be okay.
Absolutely.
Sounds silly, that, doesn't it? It's pretty obvious.
No, it's obvious, but I like it. And I like this as well. Wrexham on the way up. They're just doing incredible stuff and they've gone for it again. Mark, tell us.
Yeah, this is, once again, Michael mentioned Granit Xhaka, really sensible business, experienced into that dressing room, and Phil Parkinson has done the same with the signing of Conor Cody. He's going to be costing them £2 million with £1 million in add-ons from Leicester City. I love Conor Cody, not just as a player, but as a human being. Had the opportunity to interview him a lot, see some of the work he's done within the community, stands up for the right things in humanity. He's a good person. Yeah. He's a good egg. Putting that into that dressing room that have got this incredible wave that they're riding that seems to be the longest wave in the history of football. They really are going for it. The feel-good factor is around the club. There's a buzz about the place. They're spending big money. The ownership's ambitious. So therefore, why can't they be, mixing it and shaking it in the top 10 of the Championship? They're certainly doing the right things. They're also interested in Kiefer Moore as well from Sheffield United.
Another great signing that would be.
Yeah, hugely exciting signing for them. International, loads of experience in the Premier League, scored goals last season in the Championship, team that got to Wembley. He's done the business, hungry as well. Again, 2 exciting, experienced players that know exactly what they've got to do to get teams over the line, and that's where I think they're both exciting. And once again, Wrexham, it's just I think we're all secretly hoping Wrexham do it because
Michael,
what they've done...
Could they?
Is amazing.
Oh, EFL starts tonight.
Yeah, it does.
Where's the summer gone? Where's the summer gone?
I haven't been on the beach yet, mate.
Unbelievable.
Well, unlike you 2 boys, I've worked all the way through. That's enough. Thank you. Mark and Mike are back at 7 o'clock with the transfer show. So much to get into. There'll be a lot more on Alexander Isak. There'll be a lot more on Gianluigi Donnarumma. And a bit more on Wrexham, no doubt, as well. That's coming up on the transfer show in... an hour and a half. But I will be back just after this break, once again working harder than everybody else. Yeah, so much going on in the Sports Centre. We'll be talking about the Formula One at the Hungaroring. Practice today, and we'll be at the track with our F1 reporter Craig Slater. That and all the rest of the sporting news coming up here in the Sports Centre next. See you in a moment.